Here's an idea, John. Why don't you choose to build a fish room during the coldest weather event in the last 10 years in North Carolina? Sounds like a great idea. This is not a negative video. This is very positive. So if you don't know what I'm up to, I am building a fish room in this almost 200-year-old barn that we run our website, keepfishkeeping.com, out of. We've got our dry goods all up here, and this is going to be plants and fish. And then there's also behind that door the snail room, which is also going to be fish room. This whole system is going to be about 160 aquariums when it's all said and done. We're not quite there yet, though. We're going to have about 70 to start off with. I will be replacing this these giant ponds here with 2 or 4 or 26, I don't know, racks of 20-gallon tanks are going to replace that. And there'll also be low boys there for the plants too. So, but because of all of the headaches that I've had over the course of the last couple of months here, I'm just going to put that on hold for a little bit. We're going to get into this and get moving and get things rolling, and then add that in the very, very near future. Don't worry, it's not going to be one of those things that gets put off for a year. If at least that's not the plan anyway. That is going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon. I just needed to take a moment to catch my breath before starting that, because if you've been following along with this project, it hasn't gone smoothly. But really nothing for me ever goes smoothly. This last couple of weeks has been a complete disaster, not because of the fish room. Actually, everything's gone well in the fish room over the last couple of weeks. It's been the weather. I hope all of you are able to stay nice and warm where you're at. As for Lisa and I, we haven't, because of course, when this cold streak hit, the coldest in the last 10 years in North Carolina, 2 of our heating systems in our house have just gone out. The guy is supposed to be here today to fix them, and he will be here today. I've used him like 12 times since we moved in here. Our house, it's not a huge house, but it's been added on to over the almost 200 years that it's been in existence, and it seems like every time they've added to it, they've added a new air conditioning and heating system for that section. So we have 3 sections or 3 systems in our house for the HVAC, and I swear to you, at least one of them is always broken. It's the worst. If I could win the lottery, one of the first things I would do is replace all of the HVAC systems in my house, and I would put my hands behind my head and lean back in my recliner and just say, today is a happy day. That would be the most exciting thing about winning the lottery. But anyway, listen, even though we have the struggles of the weather over the last couple of weeks, and UPS isn't shipping, and we weren't planning on getting fish this week, but even if we were, we wouldn't have been able to because that got delayed. Everything has been completely turned upside down. But you know what isn't turned upside down? The water changing system that I have in this building. I'm very excited about it. And I realized I haven't done the best job explaining how this works. So this video is entirely going to be about the water changing system, how it works, and how you could build something like this in your fish room if you wanted to. And then the interesting thing is I'm going to talk about it again in like a couple of weeks. I'll let you know what I mean at the end of the video. But we have to start off the conversation about this water changing system, first of all, by apologizing for the sound of the pump. There's nothing I can do about that. It is our new air pump. It's a monster, and it makes a lot of noise. But I tell you, having been somebody that's had linear piston pumps like this and also blowers, this is way better than a blower. Go back and watch some of our videos when we had our fish store. You'll hear what a blower sounds like. It's a nightmare. But let's go positive, okay? This is a positive video, the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this water changing system is a correction about what I was talking about yesterday or last week. In fact, I believe I was in this exact position last week, and I was talking to you about how I hate this Rainbird controller here. You know what's a beautiful thing? Sometimes the comment section for YouTube videos. Most of the time, it is a hellhole wasteland that I do everything I can do to avoid. Not because everybody's mean, it's just that there's overwhelmingly positive feedback and overwhelmingly positive comments that come through our comment section, but it only takes one to make me say, oh, come on. And it always seems to happen. Welcome to YouTube. I'm not complaining about it. It just is what it is. But the comment section is something that I typically try to avoid, but I couldn't with last week's video. Lisa gave me a heads up about it. She said, hey, you need to go in the comments and read those because there is a lot of comments about this Rainbird system. And, well, John, you're wrong about this thing. And I said, well, how dare you say such a crazy thing? But then I looked in the comments and I saw what people were saying about this. And I said, you know, maybe I am wrong. I came out here, I did what the people were suggesting, and it worked. And this is exactly what I wanted it to be from the very beginning. Now, let me explain. In last week's video, I explained that this is a good unit and it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't do the thing that I wanted it to do, which was allow me to monitor what's going on with it remotely from anywhere. I could be in Dallas, Texas, and I could check to see that my water changing system is working. And I told you in that video that it won't do that. I was wrong. It was a setting in there. I don't even remember what it is. It was like I was set up on like guest mode or something like that, and I needed to switch it to another mode for the Wi-Fi. And as soon as I did that, because people in the comments told me to, it started doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And so I got to take back everything I said about this Rainbird system. This thing is perfect. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. And I owe Rainbird an apology. Bottom line, listen, I'm not afraid to admit when I was wrong. Most of the time. So with that out of the way, I want to go over in great detail with you how the water changing system in this building works. It's very simple. I explained it, or I talked about in the very early parts of this this build. I explained that this was not my idea. It's not my design. I've got cats running around like crazy right now, and it's very distracting. But I explained that, you know, there's been several YouTubers, several fish keepers that have inspired me to do this system. I make no claim that this is my design and I'm a genius and I came up with this brilliant thing. No. Steve Poland, Ted Judy, those are the first two that I saw do this. Not saying they were the first, but, well, Ted Judy was the first one that I saw. But anyway, who cares about all of that? How does this work? First of all, we have this right here. And I've already forgotten what it's called. Okay, it is a thermostatic mixing valve. So what this thing is, think about it like your shower. When you turn your shower on, and a lot of showers have like a handle that you go cold, hot, whichever way, and you adjust that handle just to the right mark where you get the temperature that comes out of your shower head to be the one that you desire. That's exactly what this does. It's basically a fancy version of a shower valve. In fact, some people use shower valves for this purpose. I believe that's what Ted used, and I know for a fact that's what Steve Poland used. I went with the actual thermostatic mixing valve. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but that is what it is. And it does the exact same thing as a shower valve. It is going to take the hot water that comes from the water heater, the cold water that comes from the street. It's going to mix them together at the appropriate temperature and send it out this pipe here. What's that temperature going to be? I'm probably going to have it at about 80 degrees because the tanks are pretty far away. I mean, I'm standing at the mixing valve here, and if you look, I mean, they're not, 150 feet away, but they're a good, the farthest tanks away are a good 30 feet away. I figure by the time it gets to there, it may cool by a couple of degrees. And so to send it out of here at 80, by the time it gets to the tanks, hopefully it'll be in the neighborhood of 78 degrees. That's what we're shooting for. So it comes out of here and goes into this multi-stage filtration system. The product description when I bought this it said it was a 7-stage filtration system. It's meant for your house. It's meant to get the hard water stains and, soften the water and all of that kind of stuff. That's what it's made for. And to clean the water, making it acceptable to drink and all of that kind of stuff. That's what it's for. But it also does one very, very important thing. And that is that one of these filters here is a carbon block. And so it sends it through that carbon, which does what? Removes chlorine, which is what we have in our water here in North Carolina. They don't use chloramine. I don't know if it removes chloramine. I don't care though, because that's not what I have. We have chlorine. So it will remove that chlorine. It'll help to soften the water a little bit. Water's very hard here in North Carolina, so it will soften it a little bit. Don't know exactly how much yet. I haven't gotten there yet, but that is what it's going to do. So it's basically going to make the water really, really nice and then send it out this pipe here where it's going to go up to this manifold, which I made this manifold here. It's nothing special. You don't have to be an engineer to do that. This manifold is what distributes it to the 5 zones in this building. There is this one here too, which I was going to set up to go around here and go to this sink, and I was going to use it to fill up shipping water. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think I'm going to take one of the 55-gallon drums that I have, and I think I'm just going to mix up my own shipping water. I may still run it to this sink. I don't know yet. I got a little bit of time to figure that out, but that's the plan there. I will treat it with some different things to get the fish ready for shipping. That's the plan. We'll see what happens there. If that doesn't work out, then I'll do exactly what I said. But for now, this is not going to be used at all. Perhaps I'll hook up a hose to this, just a garden hose, for if we just need to fill up a tank. That's going to happen where we have a situation going on in one tank. I don't want to run the whole system just for one tank. We want to address, do like a 75% water change in just that one tank. I could hook up a hose here and do that. It's not a big deal. So it's nice to have that, but it's probably not going to be used for what I originally intended it to be used for. When it exits this manifold, it goes into these solenoid valves. These are something that I ordered off that horrible website that starts with A and ends in Mazan. But you can buy these anywhere. You can buy them at Lowe's. You can buy them at Home Depot. Your local Ace Hardware is going to sell them. But the problem is I'm building this fish room in the middle of the off season for this kind of stuff. And so a lot of times the big box stores and small box stores don't restock on this until the spring when people start caring about their lawns again. So I wasn't able to just go to the store and buy these. I ordered them from that horrible company. What those do is allow this to work. We've already addressed what that is. That is a lawn irrigation controller. So this system here tells these solenoid valves when to turn on and allow water to pass through them and when to turn off. It does that on a schedule that I set on my phone, and I can do it from anywhere in the country. I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. Once I have it on a schedule, I'm not going to need to do anything about it. But the main reason why I'm so happy for the comment section to have helped me figure out what was wrong with this thing, is if we do travel and we're gone and this system starts running and we get an alert from our security system that there's water on the floor, I can stop the system from working. That's the whole reason why I wanted it to be able to do that. It's not like I just want to check it to make sure it's running. No, I want to make sure I can turn it off if we're gone. We have not left our home for a trip in like 2 years. So I don't even know why that was something that was so important to me, but that's what I really wanted that feature for. And thankfully, this has that. I didn't think it did, but it does. Again, thank you to the comment section for that. So this is the brains of the operation. I have this broken apart into 5 zones, and I'll walk you through and tell you exactly what all of those zones are, and it'll be nice because you won't have that pump screaming in your ear anymore. So, in the snail room right now, MJ is still in here. A lot of people commented about how cute AJ was. AJ? She's not AJ, she's MJ. Yes, named after the Spider-Man character. I didn't name her. Lisa did, because she has a cat, another rescue cat, in the house that she named Peter Parker. So we have Peter Parker and MJ. We also have a Batman, we have a Lex, we have a Selena, we have a Robin. I'm a big Batman Superman fan. Anyway, this is zone 1. So one of those pipes that comes out of the water changing system goes to this system here. The whole thing, 36 tanks, all on one zone. Stay in here, MJ. If anybody wants to adopt MJ, she will be up for adoption as soon as Lisa makes sure she's not pregnant and all that other stuff. This is zone number 2. It will, when these tanks are in, it'll have 24 20-gallon tanks on it and the 3 50-gallon low boys. Those low boys are going to be for plants. And then we've also got the 6, it used to be 9. When the center section here is done, it's going to be 64 20-gallon tanks and 8 50 low boys. Basically replacing these 2 ponds these are full of plants right now. And so to replace those, we're going to replace it with 8 50-gallon low boys, which is basically the exact same capacity there. But 64 20-gallon tanks. That's the plan now anyway. 32 on each side. Each one of those will be their own zone. So there'll be 36 tanks in the snail room, 24 plus 9. So that's 33. And then this will be 32 per section. And then there will be also the low boys that'll be included on that. Plant tanks need water changes too. And then we have the 1840 breeders. This is going to be zone 5. So snail room zone 1, zone 2, 3, 4, coming in the future, 5. On here, this is zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's set up in the brains of this system. So it will know, okay, at 2 o'clock every day, turn on zone 1 for 35 minutes. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm not saying that's going to be my schedule, but what I'm going to try to do is 25% water changes every single day in every single one of these tanks. So the system will need to run for 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes, and it'll accomplish that. And it's great. So the system here will tell it to do that. Now, there is one component that I have forgotten to talk about, and that's behind this board here. These are pressure regulators. Basically, the water that comes from the tap, whether it be from the city or even in a well, is not very consistent. The pressure is variable in those. Sometimes it might be really high, sometimes it's really low. This is going to regulate it to 30 psi so that it's always consistent and the water comes out the same, so you know exactly how much water is coming out of each zone. That's what that's for. And also, it doesn't allow the pressure to build up to extreme levels where when the system comes on, it just goes boom. So all of those pipes run from the solenoid valves through the ceiling. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, I installed all of this. I did it all on video. You saw it. I will be showing in more detail some of that plumbing. Again, we're going to talk about that at the end of the video. And it goes to each rack. Those lines run to each rack. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But what does it do once it gets to the tanks? How do you get it from the plumbing pipes to the tanks? Well, that's where these little valves right here come in. And I'm really sick of looking at these little valves because every single tank in this system has needed 2 of these. And each one of them you have to drill, and then you have to tap it, and then you have to put silicone on this and put it's a huge thing. And it gets to be a pain after a while. But these are, I believe, if you were to call Gemco, which is where you should call to order these, I believe they refer to these as the 1TB. It's like AWV1TB, something like that is the model number. But Gemco's going to know exactly what you're talking about. I need the little water valves that tap into the lines to deliver water to the tanks. And they'll be like, oh, it's the AWV, blah, 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 blah. They will get you straight. That's exactly where I went to get mine. You see all of those little valves are installed on these lines. Now, on this particular zone here, this fat pipe is the airline. And then the one behind it, the smaller, is the water line. 3/4 inch for the water line, 1.25 inch for the airline. Again, this was all recommended by Gemco. When I ordered this stuff, that's what the sizes that they told me that I should use. And then from there, it's just sent through regular standard aquarium airline. The same stuff that you've used for your air pump to run air stones and stuff like that. Each one runs down to the tank. Now again, we have 2 for each tank. We've got the water supply line, which is in this tank is this one, and then the air line that runs to the sponge filter. Again, big shout out to several people in the comment section that said, if you want to secure those lines to the tank, all you got to do is drill a small hole into the frame of the tank and you can run it through there and it'll hold it snug. And again, the comment section came through for us because they were exactly right. That's exactly what I've done with every single tank in this system. Yes, it's a pain in the butt to do it. And it's a little bit scary because you're drilling right up against the glass. And if you slip, you're going to break the glass. That's never going to end well. But if you take your time and you go slow, this is very thin plastic. It's not hard to drill through it. So 2 holes for every single tank. We're up and running. The heat guy just showed up. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. So we know how we're getting water to all of these tanks, but what happens then? Well, water is going to enter into all of these tanks and it's going to mix in with the water that is existing in the tank that's already in there. And then obviously that's going to make the tank fill up quite a bit. In the 40-gallon tanks, we're going to end up doing 10 gallons. We're going to supply 10 gallons to the 40 gallons. So we're going to run the system for about an hour because those valves will let 10 gallons per hour pass through it. We'll let them run for about a half an hour on the 20s, which will give it 5 gallons, about a 25% water change. But again, this is going to be every single day that this is going to happen. It mixes in, but it's also, you know, when you add 10 gallons to this, what's going to happen? It's going to fill up and it's going to overflow, right? No, it's going to go through this. This is, I'm pretty sure, a 1/2 inch bulkhead. Again, ordered through Gemco, told them what I was doing, told them how much is going to be flowing through it. They told me exactly how much I needed, what size I needed. And they also said, well, if you're buying those, do you need to drill the tanks? Yes, I do. Okay, well, we can supply you with the drill bit to do that. And we know exactly what size to send you. So that is great. Call Gemco. They're the best if you're setting up something like this. They have all the best stuff. So every tank is drilled. Haven't broke one yet. Record still intact. So it's going to overflow into each one of these bulkheads and down to the drain. Let me see if I can get you a closer look at the drains. The drains in this system were quite the adventure. If you've been following along, you probably remember all about that. Why can't I get it in here? Here it is. Okay, here's the drains. I am actually sitting in the spot where all that drama happened with the drains. We're not going to talk about that today because this is a positive video, but every single one of those hoses from all of the tanks is drilled into these. It's not fastened with some type of a connector or pipe connector or anything like that. It's just a hole drilled into the glass, and it's just put down into there about halfway down. So about 1.5 inches through the hole into the pipe. That's it. And it's fine. There's not extreme volumes of water flowing through these pipes, and it's not pressurized. So it's just a nice, consistent little drip of water going through there. It's going to be fine. You don't need to hard pipe all of these into the drains. Is it going to hurt it if you did that? No, but it's a step you don't need to take. So what do the drains do? Where do the drains go? Well, every single rack has a drain behind it, just like the one I just showed you, and they all go to this corner here. And then it goes under the floor, out of the building. I've talked in great detail about that drain. I had quite the adventure getting that drain put in. So it's all done by way of gravity. From the starting point, which the furthest point away would be the snail room, the back wall of the snail room, the entire system, you can see the drain pipe running in front of the door there, and you can see Jasper. The entire thing is sloped to here. It's not like this, but it's a very gradual slope. I think plumbers recommend something like 1 inch per 10 feet. And I think I've actually gone more than that. But like if you look at the drain in this corner that goes across, you can't really tell in video, so I'm not even going to bother showing you. But it is at a slope to allow gravity to carry that water through the drain pipe and out of the building. Now, once it leaves the building, I've done nothing with it because it's not operational yet. It works. This system works, but I'm not running it yet to keep this thing going. So there's no need to do anything with it. But what I'm going to end up doing is hooking up some flexible hose to the end of that drain, and I'm just going to run it out into my yard. Again, we're not talking about massive volumes of water that's going to be going through this. We're going to be doing one zone at a time with the water changing so that the water heater can keep up, and it's just not going to be that much. So, I mean, it's a lot of water, but it's not going to be something that's going to overwhelm and create a big giant pond in my yard. It's not going to do that. Plus, I live in a very sandy area in the coastal plains, so the water drains through the ground super fast. It's not going to be a problem. And it's good fertilizer for the grass. Actually, I don't have grass, I have weeds. So that's how the system works. It comes from the water heater. The temperature gets set to where I want it to be. It goes through a filtration system that removes the carbon and removes all of the other nonsense, sends it up to solenoid valves controlled by an irrigation system. That irrigation system tells those solenoid valves when to open and when to close, sending water to all of these tanks through the little valves, which I in case you're wondering, I have these wide open as far as supplying water. So they don't even really need to be operational valves, but you may need to turn them down a little bit. I don't know. It depends on your situation, but runs through those valves, through airline, into the tanks, which I have drilled the frames to hold those hoses in place. And then it overflows through a bulkhead, which I drilled through the tank, down into a drain, which is sloped all the way out of the building. That's it in a nutshell. Now, the interesting thing about this weather fiasco that's happening right now is my schedule is completely out of whack. I'm not able to do what I originally wanted to be doing at this moment, which is getting fish in here and starting that whole thing, because things have been delayed and all of that. So gonna have to hold off on that. So what I'm gonna do is start a very detailed how to build a fish room series. And that's gonna start next week. I know it's gonna seem like I'm rehashing everything and doing the same thing that I've done for the last like 8 weeks, 10 weeks in here, but it's not. This is going to be very different. I filmed every single aspect of building this fish room, everything. I mean, I filmed way too much. It's taking up way too much space in my hard drive, but I'm going to show that footage, not all of it, because we'd be talking about like 3,000 hours worth of footage, but I'm going to show that. It's not going to be in like 8 times the speed and all of that like you've seen in these recap videos or these update videos. It's going to be a more methodical explanation of how to build a fish room, starting from the very beginning all the way through to completion. So if you're interested in that, it's going to be something that's going to be really good. I'm already in the process of making it as we speak. And if you're not interested, well, it'll provide good background noise for you. We all do that, don't we? We turn something on just to have noise in the background while we're doing something else that's more productive. It'll be great for that. You can just listen to my voice for each episode. It'll be a lot of fun. So I hope you understand how this water system works now. I am going to go deal with the heat in my house and pray that the guy doesn't need to order a part. Bye.